If you've been searching high and low for music that's well written and is authentic, well, you've come to the right place because that describes the music of tonight's guest, Matt Sassano. Matt, this is the first time I've actually talked to you in real life. I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about your music. We're going to talk about what's coming up on the horizon in 2026 for you. But let's dive into you as a person and how it's impacted you as a musician. A lot of your music, I would say, is the result of you having to deal with a lot of personal struggles in your life, a lot of challenges and difficulties. Mm-hmm. Do you mind sharing with us some of those difficulties and challenges you have had to overcome?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, early on in life, man, I think it's clear that my music is definitely not just your average, Christian music stuff. I was raised around a lot of Christian music and a lot of Christian musicians and stuff. I was raised in church, for a lot of my life, and just kind of got to see things as kind of both an insider and an outsider, from the way I live. Like, I was born with two disabilities from the jump. I had a traumatic brain injury in the womb, not to start this off very heavy, but I had a traumatic brain injury and I came out with two disabilities. I have cerebral palsy and I have another disability called dyscalculia. So just really struggling through school, trying to figure things out. And, on top of that, raised in church, every time the doors were open, we were there, in the small, little rural town of Canisteo, New York. It was, you probably couldn't even Google it and find it. It was such a little place. But, learned a lot about God, learned a lot about my faith, but behind the scenes, there was a lot of just different suffering and abuse. My dad was a pastor, and just from an early age, I just remember, just fights between him and my mom and just knockdown, drag out arguments. And, really it just gave me this weird perspective where I just started I didn't fit in at school. I was just kind of a black sheep at school, getting picked on, bullied, all these things. And then when you go to church, you had to kind of put the face on and make believe that everything was okay. You come in the door, you just get done with a knockdown, drag out fight with your dad. And, and then things carry on. People kind of, saw the things that were going on, but didn't really want to get involved. So I think from an early age, my music went out, or, what built my music or whatever, it went out to people. I just craved this kind of sense of transparency and authenticity, and just not necessarily always just talking toting the party line. Not necessarily that we don't believe in Christ and all that stuff, but there's just not a lot of music that touches on some of the deep issues that we talk about in ours.
I would say that your music then is authentic, that it is you. You are singing about, and when you write your music, you're writing about your own personal experiences. And that's what people are really hungry for and what they want to relate to. And as I'm sitting here listening to you talk and just interacting, and the interactions that we've had, even just via text, you would never know that you went through those things or that you had those difficulties. You're extremely articulate. You're brilliant. And your music, when you listen to it, I mean, it's got teeth. It's top quality. None of that stuff is apparent at all. And I did a deep dive in scripture this morning. Before I do every show, I look at things that might pertain to this show. And 2 Corinthians chapter 12 at verse 9 came to me, and started thinking about you, where God says, he says this to the apostle Paul, and it's in the context of Paul's thorn in his flesh. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. And for you, Matt, all of the difficulties that you've been through and all the areas that you've had to overcome where there's weakness, God has filled that area with his grace. And it's so awesome because he doesn't share his glory with any man. And that's why he says that his grace is sufficient. You don't need anything else. And everything you do is just so graceful. And that to me is an encouraging testimony. And if nobody watches anything past this point in the interview tonight, that's it. That's it right there.
Yeah, man. I mean, really, it's just like, this is kind of not necessarily the finished product, but like, people didn't see the things that I've had to overcome to get to that point where I'm touring and doing things. And, a part of this Breaking Darkness festival, like there were many years where I just sat in my room lonely and just failing through school, failing through college, watching everybody in my circles, like, people that I graduated with surpass me in every big milestone, and just feeling like, just, God, what are you doing? I used to just vent to my mom, and I'd be like, dude, like, I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. I'm in my, late 20s at this point, early 30s, going like, I don't even know what is my purpose. And I used to just joke around with her and just be like, not joke, but just be in this thing where like, I just really wish that I would have died during that birth, like I called myself womb trash. Basically, I was like, this is nothing. Like, I don't understand. And so if you watch the music video for Dear God, which is on YouTube, it depicts like me. I'm in this, like, I'm just kind of alone in my bedroom, and I'm writing these letters for years and years and years and years. I just write letters to God as a way of just clearing my mental health, and as a way of like trying to make sense of the things that I was going through. Is like, why do I have an abusive father as a pastor? Like, why is your grace good enough for everybody else? It seems like they have all the answers, and everything. I've seen people's lives getting changed, and I'm getting, it's your stuff is good for everybody else but me. I'm sitting here lonely. I'm sitting here depressed. There was a point where when I was 17 years old, I ended up getting, depressed and like doing the cutting thing, like self-mutilation and all that stuff. And out of a church full of 200 people, I had my mom come visit me because nobody really wanted to get to the bottom of my issues. They knew there was stuff going on. And so, yeah, everybody sees that finished product of like, oh man, he's a #1 artist on the Christian rock radio station. He's playing all these things. He's toured with Petra. But like, to get there, it's kind of like, in the wilderness, it was like a whole journey through the wilderness. And so now it's just, I'm glad that God used all those experiences.
It just goes to show you can't judge something by just looking at it. Yeah. Like you said, right now, #1 Christian artist, you're doing all of these amazing things for God. When you see that, it's like, oh man, I wish my life was just as easy as his was. Yeah. And you just can't think that. You have to really get to know the person and the things that God has brought them through. And that's one of the problems that we have with social media today is people see all of these staged photos of everybody happy and smiling. It's like, oh, I want to be like that person, but they're really not. They're not happy. It's just that snapshot. You don't understand what people are going through until you really get to know them. And Matt, for you, when God is really working on somebody and bringing them to a place where he's going to use them powerfully and mightily, it takes time. And that time that you spent in the wilderness, just like the Israelites on the way out of Egypt into the promised land, it took time to get them to the place where they could walk into the promises of God. And I'm just really excited that you're going to be at the Breaking Darkness Music Festival this year, because you not only have great rock and tunes, but dude, you've got a testimony that can really, truly break some chains.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm really excited about this particular festival. For one, that it's inside. Like, it's kind of a funny thing because I always tell Seth this. I was like, dude, like for one, we musicians, we pretend like we love the outside festivals, and we'll do them. We like, the people and all that stuff, but swatting the mosquitoes, going home with a sunburn. Like, I'm like, hey, man. Like, you say that this is going to be in air conditioning, I'm all for it, because we get sweating, we get throwing down. And so we're really excited. And for two, just like the message of what you guys are doing. I love the addiction recovery angle. And so I was ChatGPT and like how many people suffer from, addiction issues and things like that in the area where this is going on. And I don't remember the exact number, but I was kind of blown away at just the scope of people that are right under our noses right here dealing with addiction stuff, where it's just like, man, they need to I'm glad somebody's stepping up and we're doing this.
Yeah, and it's so important because a lot of people are like, when you have somebody that is addicted, it's like, well, just preach the gospel to them. A lot of times that you can't do that because there's so much there because of the addiction. You got to take those things out of the way. You got to remove those obstacles. They have to be in their right mind. There's chains that have to be loosed before they can receive the gospel. And it's so important to understand that this is a significant area that a lot of people need help with, especially in the Hickory, North Carolina area, up in that area. As you were saying, the number of people that struggle with addiction it is quite large. So we have to sometimes deal with things in the flesh and get those out of the way so that Holy Spirit can go in and do the work that he needs to do.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because it takes me back. I was actually going to bring this up. It takes me back to when I was an 11-year-old kid and they would send me off to church camp, right? And so I was talking about like how I had like an abusive thing that I couldn't really communicate with the pastors. So, part of me would hear these sermons at this church camp as an 11-year-old kid and think, I'd love a relationship with God. I would love to just have him be close to my life. But I know right now, as I'm probably in church camp, my mom and dad are home and they're probably arguing and fighting. There's probably glass being smashed. There's probably like some sort of chaos going on. And so really that's what hindered me from kind of, from an early age, like I had this curiosity and love for God, but at the same time, there was so much in my way that I was like, man, in order to like get to a point where I trust God, I want to be able to like get all this stuff out of the way. So it goes right back to your point of like, sometimes maybe it's just that seed that's planted and we can help people get to the root of their issues. Because a lot of times people want to get free from addiction. People want to be free from all these things that are holding them back, but attached to it are friends that, drag them in or circumstances that they haven't really coped with yet. And so it just keeps drawing them back to that addiction. And so, yeah, that's what I love about festivals like this. But the thing that I love about my music is we take these heavy issues like Happy Family, about domestic abuse, and we just put it right out there for people to see and be like, dude, I know you're maybe dealing with this. You have people to talk to here that understand that. I felt like when I was an 11-year-old kid in this church camp that like, they might understand like one or two little instances in my life. But if I went up to them and said, man, I'm dealing with like heavy abuse from a pastoral family, the very person who sent me off to this church camp, sent me to school with black and blue marks. And so I really don't know what to do with all this. I don't know what's fake and what's real. And so it's so great that, you got these lists of bands that people that really understand what people are going through behind the scenes, because it's going to make it easier to break that addiction if we can get those things off.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And you have to remember too, that when we take a look at scripture, not every person that Jesus healed was saved afterwards. They were healed and then they had the choice of whether or not they were going to follow him. The 10 lepers, if I'm not mistaken, is what comes to my mind, where only one of them came back. And hey, I got to give a plug for Breaking Darkness Music Festival. The ticket link is below in the description. Get your tickets now. It's August 1st, Hickory, North Carolina, the premiere. And as Matt said, it is air conditioned inside, and the air conditioning is quite cool. So it's going to be a great event, especially in August in North Carolina.
Yeah, dude, we're all looking forward to it, man. It's going to be so awesome. I've just posted a couple things about it today or yesterday, and people are like, man, I might drop by. So it's cool to see the traction coming in.
Yeah. Hey, and if you're just thinking about dropping by, stop thinking about it and just drop by and see what's going on. Exactly. It's going to be, I was there last year for the second annual one. It was epic. And this year is going to be even more epic. So get those tickets. Ticket link is right below in the description. Let's talk about your music for a few moments here. And let's just talk about music in general. How has music helped you overcome personally some of the difficulties that you've had to face and the challenges you've had to face in your own life?
Right. So, I mean, for me, it was like music was like that thing that just got me away from the life that I was living. as far as like, there's hobbies that people like ingrain themselves into. And then there's like obsessions, you know what I mean? And so from a very young age, I remember just because I didn't like the life that I was living, with the abuse, with all the things that were going on at home, being blah, 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 I would just slap on my headphones and literally, from a very young age, just be walking around absorbing every type of music, everything from Christian music like Disciple to, you name it, Skillet, to even just like music like Eminem. I was a big Eminem fan. So like I just saw that journey as like I used to live vicariously through all the artists that I would listen through my headphones, and never really thought that I would be singing or anything like that. I was pretty much probably the shyest person you could imagine coming up, you know what I mean? And so but at the same time, like from a very young age, I knew I wanted to do something in music. I wasn't quite sure what it was. I knew I loved everything about the rock scene. When I would watch music videos, I'd be like, in some way, I want to be involved in this particular avenue, but I had no necessary means to really get there. And so my first interaction with music was playing bass. And I used to play a little bit of bass for the youth worship team and kind of learn riffs. I'd be up in my room for hours at a time, just with CDs playing, just rocking out to whatever it was. And then about the time I was about to start my first official music project, what I found was I lived in a small little cow town, and I would hire singers and I'd get singers. And like the next week, it was nuts. Like they literally drop out of the project. So every other week we're going, all right, Jimmy's on vocals this week. Okay, next week it's Craig. All right, Craig just quit. We got Bradley, and so it was just this weird thing where I was super deflated, and I was like, I really want to do this, but I don't want to sing. And this is kind of folds into it. I went to this church where nobody knew me. I like literally was like the new face in that particular church. And it was about the time that those first band projects were forming. And this lady that I'd never met took me up on the stage, and she was like, come here, man. I just want to tell you something. And I was like, what do you got to say? She was like, well, God really wants to use you in music. And I was all for that. And I was like, dude, yeah, I'll do that. Like, I'm ready I got my bass fingers all calloused up. I'm ready to go. And then she interrupted me. She's like, but he wants you to sing. And my heart just dropped out. I just like, he wants me to do what? And it took weeks and weeks and weeks of battling just fear and just complete, just like, I don't know if I can do this. And over time, I just stepped up to that microphone and did it. But it didn't start pretty. You know what I mean? My first show, I was like a 2-pack a day smoker. And so I was like really I wanted to do what God wanted me to do, man, but I was struggling. I couldn't breathe. My first song on the stage, I literally just collapsed down and just like couldn't take it. I was like, hold on, guys. So from there, hit the treadmill, moved to Tennessee, got all my ducks in order, and really just started going full at it. And God's just really used like from point A to where we are now. Yeah. Couldn't be happier, but I can finally breathe now. I can finally will not see me at Breaking Darkness, hopefully fainting on the stage. So that'll be, you know what I mean?
I'll come pick you up if needed.
Yeah, man, I got you, and I got your little co-host, your little bird.
Yeah, my co-host over here. We want to talk about your collaborations for a moment.
Yeah,
you brought it up first. It was the weekly lineup in your band of the revolving door of who you didn't know was going to be on bass or who was going to be singing one week or the week of the next. But going through your catalog, I noticed that you've done quite a few collaborations. Who are some of the artists that you've collaborated with?
So right now it's kind of funny, but when I started doing my In Defiance EP around 2022, that whole thing was recorded and produced with Josiah Prince from Disciple.
Nice.
And so, I was just sitting there one day and I was like, we worked so hard on this song, In Defiance, which is my first, I think it's probably my most streamed song on Spotify right now. And usually people tend to maybe get like Kevin or something like that. Like, but it was kind of funny because I love the song. I love how me and Josiah were working together. I was like, why don't we just have you collaborate on the song? You sing the second verse, you write something. And so on there, we got Josiah from Disciple doing his thing. And then on another song is called Sorry is a Dirty Word on the same thing. And I had promised my girlfriend at the time, she was in another project. And I was like, you know what, I'll throw you on a collab. She was in a project called Azariah at the time.
Okay.
And I was just like, I wrote a song if you want to do it. So I just kind of have randomly, before we kind of really started taking it serious and dating, I just had my girlfriend Faith on a track called Sorry is a Dirty Word, which was really cool. Not only because of that, but the song deals in similar themes, and we had gone through similar things in life. And so it just kind of ended up working out. As far as other collaborations, Zana, I don't know if you know who Zana is, but
she's been with us at Get Revelation Rock Fest in Charleston, South Carolina, and we're going to feature that track in a few moments too.
Oh, no joke, man. Yeah. So she was doing that. She was on a collab with me back in the day. I tried to, Enough was one of my really early songs before I got with Josiah. So it sounds a little bit different, but she was cool enough to just hop on that track and do it.
Yeah, my co-host, he's got a question for you in the back over there. Yeah. He's been bothering me.
Collaborate with me?
Oh, dude, absolutely, man. I think if we did that, man, that would shoot up the Spotify numbers 100%. So I'm
totally. He can do the growls in the back for you or something like that.
I'm 100% down, man. You just email me at me.
He's been begging me. Maybe you can help with this. He's got this thing for Captain and Tennille's Muskrat Love back in the 1970s. So he's looking for somebody that can do Muskrat Love with him. He's been working on it. So
some sort of a bird theme song or something with bird in it.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. We're coming up with something. So hey, we were talking about that song enough that you did with Zana. We love Zana. She's been here to South Carolina. She was in our first annual Get Revelation Rock Fest that I put on back in 2021. Yeah, 2021 it was. She drove all the way from Texas to be a part of it. And enough. That was 5 years ago when you released that song?
Yeah, so it was probably around 2020. It was right before I got with Josiah, and I was just really going through. I always love to attach like these stories, but right before Pit Fest was I was COVID, and I got involved in a relationship like really early on, and just probably skipped a few steps, ended up getting engaged and kind of felt like this was going somewhere. My music was kind of not going well. The one show that I had that year at 2020, 5 minutes before Pit Fest, I was supposed to hit the stage, and she told me like, man, I'm not staying. So she ended up leaving me like right in the middle of the show. And it was crazy, man. Like I had to like perform knowing that like my fiance was leaving, and I was like, dude, what is this? And so I wrote this song, Enough, for anybody who's kind of ever been in a relationship, that toxic relationship where they don't maybe feel like enough. And it's just really meant to encourage you, man. You are enough. God loves you. He's got you in a spot right now where maybe you don't see the end result, but I just want to encourage, like, I've been through that same thing.
Well, Poe's going to head on over to the record rack over there and pull it off the shelf, and we're going to check out Enough.
Could I ever be enough for you? 'Cause I don't wanna face the truth. I always seem to be the one worth leaving, and in the end I bet you'll leave me bleeding. Enough with you, 'cause I don't wanna trust in you. I've got 1,000 scars and 1,000 reasons. It's dangerous to have a heart that's beating, 'cause my heart is like a ball and chain. It's always heavy and attached to pain, dragging me down into more mistakes. Another promise with a twist of fate, 'cause every time someone's heaven sent. Their halo turns to horns and I'm in hell again. It starts off with a spark, but now it's evident that I help light the fires that they burn me with. I can't forget. All these scars remind me when my love turned to regret. Then you put me through it all again. Could I ever be enough for you? 'Cause I don't wanna face the truth. I always seem to be the one worth leaving, and in the end I bet you'll leave me bleeding. Enough with you, 'cause I don't wanna trust in you. I've got 1,000 scars and 1,000 reasons. It's dangerous to have a heart that's beating. Could I ever be enough?
Cause my heart is known to lead me blind, on a search for something I can't find. Is there a line between love and war? Cause I keep getting caught in the landmines, and every move I make could blow up in my face. I just wanna trust again, but no, it isn't safe. While I starve for something real, cause all I've known is fake. But they're out for blood and I'm always at the parade.
I can't forget.
All these scars remind me when my love turned to regret.
Then you put me through it all again. Could I ever be enough for you? 'Cause I don't wanna face the truth. I always seem to be the one worth leaving, and in the end I bet you'll leave me bleeding. Enough with you, 'cause I don't wanna trust in you. I've got 1,000 scars and 1,000 reasons. It's dangerous to have a heart that's beating.
That is awesome, man. Thank you so much, man. And yeah, I will definitely. I'm gonna be getting a hold of your co-host right after this. We're gonna, in some way, we gotta at least put him on like the cover of an album subliminally or something like
You
that.
do. Yes, absolutely. He is open to that. His contract with us and co-hosting the show does allow for some side gigs every once in a while, so we can loan them out to you. That song, yeah, it rocks. Thank you, Poe, ever the music critic over in the corner over there. That is just so tight. That's the way I would describe it. I mean, it's just so well composed, but at the same time, it's heavy, but it's very contemplative. If I'm pronouncing that word, it causes you to contemplate and to think about those things. It does both. It's got all those emotions just wrapped up in it, and that's what I really like about that song.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It was, like I said, pre-Josiah. So that was actually recorded by a guy by the name of Colton Carnley at a place called CX3 Studios. And at the time, like, I was just kind of finding my voice still a little bit, trying to figure out. And so now you'll notice that like the new stuff is a tad heavier than what Enough was. But that was kind of me finding my footing again and just writing from the heart. I went through this phase where I just kind of was writing for the sake of writing, and it wasn't coming off authentically. And I just was like, this just isn't me, and like Enough was kind of the first song that I was like, I got really burned by this girl and this fiance. And I'm like, I just returned back to like, this is what people need to hear, man, this kind of music. And from there, Josiah came into the fold and everything started unfolding. So that's cool, man, that you're starting from there.
And it's relatable too. It's very relatable. It's timeless. Even though the song is from 5 years ago, it sounds brand new to me, but it's something that people can relate to and will be able to relate to. If you're having a bad day, just think about poor Matt before getting on stage, his fiance breaking up with him. That's what I would call a bad day. But all of us go through that. In relationships get messy. I mean, there's no question about that. Just a few weeks ago, we had Autumn Eve on, and we did a deep dive into toxic relationships and all those things. And she's got some really good insights on that. We'll put the link to that below as well to go back and watch the interview we did with Autumn Eve.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. We've gotten to do a couple shows together, and we're pretty good friends. She'll hit me up in my inbox every once in a while and just ask what's going on, because she's from Nashville and I'm from Knoxville. We're about maybe 4 hours apart, but yeah, she's a great person. Lots of great insight on things. We always love chatting with Autumn.
What a lineup for Breaking Darkness Music Festival this year, August 1st, Hickory, North Carolina. Tickets are below. Let me ask you this question. I got two more before we close out tonight. The first one is, what would you say to somebody? What advice or encouragement would you give to somebody in our audience who may be struggling with discouragement because of the challenges and the difficulties that they're facing in their life?
Dude, and I know this can somewhat come across as kind of cliche, but for the fact that I've lived it is really the thing. Is like a lot of the things that I was going through at the time that I hated. I hated being the disabled kid. I hated being labeled. I hated, coming home from a church service and having a knockdown, drag out fight with my father, or, going through all these things where it was just like, what is your purpose in all this? I'm wandering through the wilderness. I don't understand what your plan is in all this. I'm in my, literally, even to this day, I still struggle with like this music thing is kind of, everybody sees the plaques and the stuff, but like they don't understand. We're trying to do a ministry, but we're also trying to make a living too,
Right.
So even now in my own life, there are unanswered questions, but I would just say, man, be open to the idea that God, even though it's tough, even though you're probably going home crying at night in your bedroom alone, like God is using that to build what he wants from you. If it hadn't been for all that stuff, I'd have been, I wonder what kind of music I would have written had I just come from the perfect family and not experienced pain and not experienced discouragement and all that stuff. I probably would have been writing music like Ned Flanders' son from the what it's like.
Yes, indeedly do, Matteroo.
I would have had like a bow tie, or I don't even know, man, but God built this unique lane that like was birthed out of pain and birthed out of struggle. And, it's not easy to hear at the time, but God's building your resistance. God's building you to be resilient in the things that he's called you to be. And so it might not look like it right now, man, but I can speak from experience not to give up, man. A lot of you guys maybe are out there right now and you're thinking about giving up your life. A couple days ago, I had a girl who had just heard my song, Dear God. She said, I was a day away from killing myself, basically. I was a day away from committing suicide. Your song came on and changed my whole perspective, man. And so you don't know when God decides to open it up for you. But I would just pray for you that, like, just hang in there. Know that like there's nothing that you have gone through that God isn't knowledgeable about. So just hang in there, man.
Matt, would you be open to providing email contact or a contact if there's somebody that wants to talk to you, that a good way to reach you if they're really struggling with dealing with the difficulties that they're facing in this life and need some encouragement from you? Because what you just said is so powerful, and you have a gifting to minister to others in this area.
Yeah, man. So my email address is mattsassanocontact@gmail.com. I just recently had to restart my Facebook and Instagram. So it's Matt Sassano Band on Facebook and Matt Sassano Band on Instagram. Get a hold of me on there. Shoot me a message. And like I said, dude, I'm still going through things. It's never going to be a perfect picture. You're never going to just arrive. Everybody has this weird idea that because I've toured with Petra and I've toured with, all these people, that my life is just cakey but God has a plan and a purpose. And even through all those fights and those battles, man, he's going to equip you to be the person that he wanted you to be.
Yeah, that is so very true. The day that we arrive is the day that we receive a glorified body and that we're standing face to face with Jesus.
Absolutely, man.
And really, Matt, all of these things, these trials, these difficulties, these tests that we go through in this life, it really has nothing to do with this life when it all boils down to it. what it has to do with is it's preparing us for the next life and the assignments that God has for us in his kingdom. And if you thought that going to heaven was just floating around on a cloud, playing the harp, you're sadly mistaken. It is much more than that. We'll be entering into a whole new era of the earth, a new heaven and a new earth, a kingdom. It's going to be awesome.
Amen, man. Yeah, that's awesome, bro. I believe it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking about the future, what does the future hold in the rest of 2026 for Matt Sassano?
Yeah, man. So it's been really gearing up. Like I said, before, when I was like years ago, when I was touring with Seventh Day Slumber, I was trying to figure all these things out, and I just went out with tracks and all that stuff. Now, since we have a full band, we've got my friend Richie on guitar. He's from the area, and my friend Aaron on drums. And so we've been kind of like running ads now on Facebook to do more bookings and stuff. And I'm surprised at how quickly it's gaining traction. So
Good.
There's been a variety of just different churches and festivals that have been getting a hold of us, looking for just booking opportunities. We've got stuff at not only your festival with Breaking Darkness, but we've got Return Festival that we're going to be in. We've got some churches down in Mississippi that are going to be there, that we're going to be at, and just all over the map, hopefully. And if you're a person that wants to schedule an event, man, our calendar is never too full. So bring us on over, man. I know maybe you've hired some bands or done some things with some bands in your church before, but I promise you, man, I've been to a lot of different Christian concerts, walked out the same way. Walked out going, okay, well, that was a nice little concert, but did he really address the issues that I had? So that's the thing that I have faith in. If you book us, man, we're going to get to the root of the issues that your youth are going through. And you can see us at Breaking Darkness Festival, where we'll be also doing just that. So thank you guys.
Yeah, Breaking Darkness is a great place to just come check them out to see if they'll be a good fit for your ministry or for your church. And get the tickets below. They are in the description. We are getting so close to the event. August 1st, Hickory, North Carolina at the premiere. Matt, I am so excited that you're going to be there. You're going to be bringing a very high degree of authenticity to the stage, addressing the issues. And dude, you're going to bring some rockin' tunes to the stage as well. It's going to be an epic event. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely, man. You and the bird.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely stop by. I'll be giving out sweaty hugs before and after the show. So if you're into the sweaty hug thing, come on down, rock with us. It'll be a great time.
Yep, and we've figured out a way to bring the bird, so stand by for that. I'm not going to reveal it yet, but he will be at the Breaking Darkness Music Festival, August 1st, Hickory, North Carolina. Hey, I want to see you there. Matt's going to be there on stage. I'm going to be emceeing the show. I'm very excited about that. I've been working with Seth behind the scenes, and Jimmy Sorrells from the Christian Metal Group as well is going to be there, and he's been working behind the scenes on this. But until next time, when we meet again on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever it may be, peace out and rock on.
See you later.
Lithoscry.com